they just always die. Might be a little bit controversial. Absolutely zero desire to have one because I can't get them to grow nicely no matter what I do. I'm definitely not the only one who is not actually a fan of this plant. Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Today I really wanted to talk about some plants that I will never be trying again. I've been growing and collecting houseplants for over 5 years now, and throughout this whole journey there's definitely been some plants that I do not wish to ever own again, and I thought I would share them with you today. I have done a similar video to this previously, but that was years ago at that point. I feel like my tastes have changed even further and there's even more now that I do not wish to continue giving a go with. Before we get into it though, I just want to say if you're new here and you don't know me already, hi! My name is Emma and I make houseplanty content all over the internet. So if you want to follow along with my houseplanty journey and maybe learn something along the way, stick around, watch some more of my videos, and subscribe to my channel. If you're not new here, thanks for coming back. I really appreciate it. Let's get into it. Oh, I also definitely want to say this is just my personal preference from my own experience. I will be hating on some plants during this time if they happen to be plants that you love. I'm not sorry for my opinions. We can all have different ones. But if you really don't agree with me, let me know why in the comments. Or if you do agree with me, let me know why in the comments. Or if there's a whole different genre of plants that you think I should be on this list, let me know down below in the comments. Right, so I'm going to be looking at most of these on my phone because a lot of them are plants I no longer have, so I want to be able to show you here in this zone what I'm talking about as I am talking about them. And because I don't own them anymore, I can't show you in person. The first one on my list, which might be a little bit controversial, the Philodendron Pink Princess. I have absolutely no desire to have this plant anymore. I did at some point really want one, and I have had some previously, and I thought that I liked them, but I feel like a big chunk of me liking them was due to the sort of hype around them on Instagram. They were like the big thing. They were uncommon, especially in like 2020 or so. You really couldn't get your hands on them very easily, and so it was just kind of like wanting something because it was like the it thing to want. It was the trendy thing to want, and I wanted them. And the first ones that I got did jack shishmataglottis. They did absolutely nothing. They had barely any pink on them, and they also just didn't size up at all. Even though I had them on moss poles, I was giving them the support, but they were just not having it. So I eventually did give those away after I got this second one here, which I got actually mislabeled as a Philodendron Burgundy Princess. I think this was just at the beginning of where they started to become more commercially available and like quite inexpensive. And this one, it was mislabeled as a Burgundy Princess even, and it was only 25 pounds, which is much less than you would have gotten one this size at the time. And so I snapped it up, and I do think I liked it for a little bit because I felt like I finally had a Philodendron Pink Princess, and I was like, yes, I have this thing that everybody wants. But I actually, like, it didn't grow that well for me. I had put it on support, like a sisal covered stick for a while, and I had it on a moss pole for a while, and it was like fine, and it did grow some good pink, but it wasn't really sizing up as much as I would have wanted it to, and I stopped actually liking the pink variegation. It didn't have very much, and the stuff that it did get would like tend to get bleached and just not look as good as I wanted it to. And so I ended up giving that one away, or selling it, or chopping it up and giving it to my patrons or something. I did something with it. It's gone. I don't own it anymore. And I do not regret that for a single second. I don't miss that plant. I don't ever think, oh, I wish I had my pink princess still, or when I see one in a shop, I'm just like, cool, I don't care. And so I do feel quite glad that I was able to part with that one when I did, but I don't think that I'll ever be getting another one. I don't think I care enough about them. Oh, another white princess maybe. I did love my white princess. Maybe a white knight or a white wizard. I'm happy to try those kind of things, but the pink ones, I just don't think they're for me. Next up we have another philodendron, and this is one that I actually do still have one of. It is a Philodendron Paraiso Verde, and this is actually one that I got in my Rare Plant Shop rescue box, and as you can see, it is not looking fabulous. I have had some really big, beautiful Paraiso Verdes before, but I've never been able to actually keep them nice. They are extremely finicky, and the only way to get the sort of beautiful speckly variegation on them, which I love, I think when they are variegated nicely, they are absolutely beautiful, but the only way you can get that is if they're in like a really warm, quite bright, but also not too bright because you don't want to burn the leaves, environment. So it is really difficult to get right, especially in your home, especially in the UK where it is like not known for being bright and warm for most of the year. And so I just feel like this is not a plant that I can keep in the UK and keep it happy. Like you can see even the new leaves on this one, they're pretty much totally green. And it's like, at that point, it's a different plant, and it's like they're known for having their beautiful variegation, and when they don't, it's just kind of like, why do I have it? And I know the variegation is stable, so if I did get it to a point in the future where it was getting enough light and heat, it could regain that variegation. It's not like it reverts like permanently, but I feel like the likelihood of me getting it to that point is fairly slim, and so I don't like, I think I want to get rid of this plant at this point. I don't know why I didn't bring it to the swap. I really should have. That would have been the perfect place to get rid of it, but yeah, it's just one of those plants, and it needs to go onto a moss pole as well. Like this one, I was just, if you have one this size, put it on a moss pole immediately, because that's the only way that they can grow big. But they tend to just grow quite leggy otherwise and very sprawly, which I'm not into. It's just a no for me at this point. I'm not here for it, and I don't think I'm gonna try again with this one unless I move somewhere with a completely different climate. Like if I move back to California, or if I move to like Asia, then maybe. But as of right now in the UK, I would not try Paraiso Verde again. Next, we have the Pilea Peperomioides, or the Chinese money plant. I don't know why. I have massively struggled with Pileas over the course of my entire like plant journey. I think it might be some sort of watering issue, and I've not really got the timing right on them. But I also just haven't been able to get them to grow bigger in any case. I've had some that I've grown for props. I've had some that I've bought as plants. None that were like established and mature, but still like mature enough that if I got it as a philodendron or a monster or something, I could probably get it to grow well and size up. But with Pileas, I have just never been able to make it work, and they always end up going a bit bleh. And I do think that is a little bit of a shame, especially when it comes to ones like the Mojito, I believe. I really like the sort of dappled variegationness on it. I think they are really cool. But if I'm not able to get the plant to grow well, there's kind of no point. I do, however, think that the Pilea sugar looks like it's got some sort of disease. It's like, the way its variegation works, it's a bit like, it's dappled, but it looks like it makes the plant sick. So I definitely won't be trying one of those again. And I really don't think I would try even the ordinary Pilea again. I don't feel like I need one. I don't feel like I'm missing out on them. So I'm just not gonna get one. I really don't need to. It is a bit of a shame though, because it is one of those plants that's like super easy to propagate. And I'm pretty sure they're cat safe. So if you're looking for a cat safe plant, that might be a good option. But I don't think it's one that I'm going to try again, regardless of those like pros for the plant. Speaking of cats and plants, I will not try this plant again purely because of Cleo. So I will likely never have a Dracaena dragon tree ever again, purely because Cleo absolutely loves to try and eat their like spindly fronds, and they're toxic to cats. They are not pet safe, and so I don't ever want to get another one of those because I don't want Cleo going for it and making herself unwell. I will continue to have the sort of like wider leaf ones, like my White Jewel and my Victory. Those I have no problem with. Cleo doesn't really go for them, but it's the ones that are very grass-like that she just really wants to like play with and have a munch on. And it's just not safe for her, and I don't want to put her in that sort of danger. So I won't be getting another dragon tree. They are kind of cool though. They look like something out of Dr. Seuss. So maybe in a different home where I could get one that's like legitimately out of reach from her, it's possible. But in my home right now, in my current life, with Cleo existing, it's just not gonna happen. Next is the Philodendron Birkin. These were like all the rage kind of when I was beginning my plant journey. They were everywhere online, but it was quite hard to get them. I wouldn't really classify them as rare or uncommon. They were a little bit more so previously, but not by the time I got one. They have been pretty common since. I think it was 2019 when I had mine. This is another plant that once I decided to get rid of it, I have not missed it for a single second. I don't really feel like it's one for me. I'd much rather have a climbing philodendron or a trailing philodendron than one that just kind of like sits at the same size. I know I have a couple that kind of sit like that, like my Marginum and Melaloni. Are they called self-heading philodendrons? Is that what they're called? Where they just come out from the middle and they kind of come out in a spiral? Maybe that. But I don't feel like it actually grew well for me, and every time I see one in a shop, it's just like, I don't care. I don't need one. I don't feel like it added anything to my collection that I couldn't get through most other plants. So it's just, I'm over it. I'm over the Birkin. It sounds like such a designer plant. I'm pretty sure it is a designer philodendron, technically. Like, I think it was created. But no. Next up, we have the Philandra, the Philodendron Melanochrysum. I feel like I'm definitely not the only one who is not actually a fan of this plant. Aesthetically, if they look like this, absolutely, yes, please sign me up. I'm here for that. But in reality, I cannot grow a Melanochrysum to look like this. I have had no luck in that department. I have tried several different plants and I have not been able to get them to size up or even like maintain size at all. They've always just sized down in my care, even if I've got them on a moss pole or something. And in general, I find that they are fairly pest prone. I definitely had a thrips issue on my previous Melanochrysums. I just feel like there are so many other philodendrons that can give you similar enough and like kind of fill that void without them being the like weakness of Melanochrysum. Like, I'd rather get a Melanochrysum hybrid, like my Glorious. That's a Gloriosum and a Melanochrysum. hybrid. Absolutely, I'm here for that. It's not quite the same dark, deep black color, but it's like, it's close enough that it fills the Melanochrysum void in my heart. But I don't think I will try a Melanochrysum again unless I'm buying one that's like huge and like already super duper duper well established. But before that, I don't think it makes any sense. I've had trouble propagating them from babies. I've had trouble growing them when they're bigger. I just don't think it makes sense to keep them in my life. I've learned. I think a lot of other experienced plant parents have gone through the Melanochrysum pain in the buttness of it. And so, I mean, I don't want to stop anyone from trying, because there are some really beautiful ones out there, like as evidenced by Instagram. They exist and they can grow really beautifully. But I don't know how. I don't know how, because I can't get them to grow nicely no matter what I do. Next on my list are Syngoniums. But I do want to say that this Syngonium, the Frosted Heart, for the time being, will be the only Syngonium that I plan on keeping ever again. I have really struggled with Syngoniums in this year. I feel like in 2022 I had a really big Syngonium moment where I was trying to collect a lot of different types. There are several that I acquired during that time, but so many of them have not fared well. A lot of them have suffered with pests. The sort of thin leaves that a lot of Syngoniums have, I find are super duper susceptible to things like thrips, and that's sort of the main pest that I tend to have. And so whenever I get thrips, it's basically like, oh, my Syngoniums have them again, great, so excited to have to deal with this again. And because the leaves are thinner, when they experience damage, the amount it takes to give them damage is not very high. And so I feel like they're just a really fragile plant. That being said, I am quite a fan of the Frosted Heart. I feel like it's different enough when it comes to Syngoniums that I'm here for it. And I feel like the leaves are ever so slightly thicker than the average Syngonium leaf, and so they're not quite as susceptible. This one has still suffered with pests, but it was much more easily treated than my other Syngoniums previously have been. So this is the only one that I think I'll be keeping going forward, and I don't really plan on getting any new Syngoniums anytime soon. I think also there's a lot of Syngoniums that fall within the pinks and reds, which I'm just generally less of a fan of in plants. There's some plants that I could deal with it on, that I'm like really here for it on, but for the most part, they just come out kind of looking muddy, like the Syngonium Neon Robusta. It's pink, right? But it's also green, and so it kind of turns into this like funky brown color, which I personally don't want to look at. And I don't see why other people would, but if that's your thing, that's fine. It's just not mine. And I don't really, it's just not gonna happen. I've learned, I've had several of them, and none of them have done well, and they've all died, or I've given away because I've just stopped liking them or caring for them. I don't want it. Like, even something like the Syngonium albo or the mojito, which the color variegation I am absolutely here for. I have absolutely zero desire to have one. I don't need one. I'd rather have like another Marble Queen Pothos 1,000 times over. I don't want it. I don't want it. I have said this several times over at this point. I refuse to try spider plants ever again. It is still on my absolutely no list. If there's any going at the end of a plant swap, I will not take them. I do not want them. So many people have tried, oh, but try this, oh, but try that. No. 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 I have tried so many things with them. I've tried ignoring them. I've tried being really on top of it. I've tried putting them in sun. I've tried putting them in shade. they just always die, no matter what. No matter what, they just die. And it's really freaking annoying because, like, I don't want to be dealing with dead plants all the time. And when I've had spider plants in the past, I've just had to deal with dead plants all the time, and it's just not worth it. So I will continue. I will die on this hill. I will not get another spider plant of my own volition. No. No, thank you. Next, I've actually got two-ish kind of these ones. And this one, I'm going to caveat a little bit. So, I will never try to grow Alocasia zebrinas from corms ever again. Because this is what they end up like. Like, what is this? The leaves are tiny, but the stems are so long, they've just gotten so leggy. And they're just, I feel like it's just not worth it. If I were to get a Zebrina, which I do really, really want an Alocasia Zebrina, I want a Zebrina black stem as well. It is on my wish list, for Christ's sake. And every time I've tried to grow one, which this is not the first time I've tried to grow one, they just turn out so funky. And when I was pulling this one out literally to show you today, and I just discovered that it is rotted completely off. Like, there's no roots on that, and it is a bit stinky and squishy. Like, this is dead. And it is so annoying because I like everything else about them is something that I like. I like the cool stripy stem. I like the sort of big shield alocasia leaves. I love alocasias in general, but growing a Zebrina from a baby has proven to be impossible in my household. And I don't know why. I don't know why I can't just grow them big and beautiful like this. Like, how? Maybe I just need to buy a big one, but I don't really have space for a big one anyway, so I probably shouldn't. But as much as I would love a big Alocasia Zebrina, I can't just grow them from a small corm, unfortunately. Which makes me sad, because that's the cheapest, easiest way to get plants, is getting them from babies, or from corms, or from propagations. But alas, I cannot with the Zebrina. And then last, but certainly not least, absolutely not least, we have the Philodendron Verrucosum. I am so done with the Verrucosum. I have also tried several different types of Verrucosums, because I feel like there's not just one type of Verrucosum, there's several different varieties. And I don't know how there's different varieties, I don't know how it makes sense, I don't get it, but I've tried several different kinds and I cannot grow any of them. They are so sensitive to underwatering, so much more sensitive than so many of my other philodendrons. And they're extremely pest prone. In a house with a chronic underwaterer and pests, it has obviously, it's just not worked. And no matter what I do, I've just killed them. And I don't need to put myself through that heartbreak again, because they are, again, beautiful plants. I just don't think they're for me. I think I would just rather get Verrucosum hybrids like the El Choco Red and the Majestic. Those sort of plants I am absolutely here for, and I think because of the hybridization of them, they get kind of the strongest genes from both sides, and so you can get some bits, some aspects of the Verrucosum without the like faff and like trauma that comes with a normal Verrucosum. So yeah, I can't anymore with them. I've tried so many times, and I feel like it's one that I just get tempted by because I think they're so cool and pretty, and like I love their cool stripes and their coloring, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And it makes me sad. If you liked this video and enjoyed hearing me rant about plants, please give it a thumbs up down below and leave a comment on what your plants are that you would absolutely never try again, or tell me if I'm wrong. That's fine too. Just put a comment down below on other houseplanty things and we can have a conversation down there. and subscribe for more. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Do not forget to keep growing. Bye!